It's Sunday, March 22nd, 2015, and you're listening to the Film Project Podcast, Episode 74, 10% Less Party in the Back, Hugh Jackman. This episode is brought to you by Iron Goat Brewing in Spokane, Washington, Kaufman & Associates at kaufmaninc.com, and O'Doherty's Irish Grill.
So,
yeah,
I guess we should start rolling.
I guess we can start rolling. Welcome to the Film Project Podcast.
Are we rolling now?
We were rolling. We had to cut out that previous couple of minutes when we talked about some real industry insider stuff.
You sound like such a douche when you say that. God.
No, it's just stuff that just stuff way too technical for the average listener.
Yeah,
we're talking about
such
that.
a low opinion of our listeners.
Listen,
if they're listening, I have a low opinion of them.
I'm still confused what we were talking about. So,
Well, we are the Film Project Podcast. We're a conversational podcast. We're an extension of the Spokane Film Project, which is at www.spokanefilmproject.com. And we're made possible by irongoatbrewing.com. What's being poured out now? Let me guess. Goat meal stout.
No, you're wrong. Actually,
I'm wrong. What is it?
It's Budweiser.
It's
Bud Light.
never in this house would that happen.
No, it's
Bud
Bud
Light.
Light. Bud Light.
Never.
Miller's.
No.
Miller Lite?
No.
Yeah,
There will be a trail of blood.
Blood.
Yeah.
Your
Before
blood.
that, yes.
Dragged all the way up the stairs,
Or-
back to the street side.
Hey, but
And if,
Miller Lite is
and
an
if it's not us, and if
find
it's not
you.
us, Boyd will come flying through those walls. Like,
Come on, Miller Lite is the champagne of beers.
champagne.
All right, how
my
about
ass.
What the hell are you saying?
How about Pabst Blue Ribbon? It's won a blue ribbon.
Okay,
You know what? I do drink PBR
Oh,
because
God.
I can get it for like $1 on Wednesday night at the Baby Bar,
Yeah, you hipster.
or $2 any other night.
You're just a hipster.
No, I'm just broke.
Yeah,
Do they
okay.
still have
all right.
Zima?
No. Yeah, Zima and Jolly Ranchers.
Zima
That's
still
Sean's favorite.
Yeah.
Right?
I like Crystal Pepsi. I know someone who bought Crystal Pepsi off eBay, paid like $8 per 16-ounce bottle, and drank it.
I'm sure it tasted awesome.
Yeah,
I
I guess it just tasted like flat Crystal Pepsi.
Back in 04, 05, my family moved out of the house that I grew up in. And when we were moving out, I found a sixer left over of Crystal Pepsi.
Nice. You should.
And-
Are you the one that sold it on eBay to her?
I should have.
Pepsi?
Pepsi,
Pepsi.
not Pepsi.
Pepsi.
Crystal Pepsi was
Not
the
Joe
clear,
Pesci.
It was
not Crystal Pesci.
It was
Crystal
Pepsi, but
Pesci.
it was clear. It was like no food
Yeah.
Oh, it
coloring.
didn't have
It was
like
as white as
barely
Joe
better
Pesci
for
is.
you.
Yeah.
Barely better.
So is there a
because it had
version
no
of a 7-Up?
No,
But I just
it was.
I have
Yeah,
to say
7-Up,
it did
no
not
caramel
keep.
coloring. Pay
Yeah.
$8. I'll sell you $8 cans for that.
I don't
Those
drink soda,
cans
so I
did
don't
not
know.
keep
Oh really?
over the 10 years or so that we
Yeah.
had them.
I had some Mountain Dew Revolution. I still have it in my refrigerator. It was the one flavor that I really liked. I kept it. It's probably been in there for 7 years.
I also had Surge.
Did you buy it because you got double XP on Call of Duty?
Oh no, this is actually before Call of Duty. I did like the Halo Mountain Dew, the Game Fuel. That's come out
It's
every
like the
time.
worst stuff because they put Halo or Call of Duty and then Mountain Dew and Doritos right
Yeah,
now. It's
right.
like it's a full meal deal.
Do you guys remember when the Redux Star Wars films came out to theaters?
Yeah. Oh, and they had the Kellogg's,
Unfortunately.
the Kellogg's cereal.
Well, with the release, they at the theater I went to, it was like the Valley Theater, but not the New Valley Theater.
Right,
It's
right. The East Sprague Cinemas.
Yeah, the old East
I
Sprague.
used to work there.
Oh,
And,
Actually, Travis worked there when that came out.
Oh,
I think
funny.
Travis may have been the person that was shoving these pallets of Surge into my face
Oh, really?
after the midnight screening and seeing the film.
He's been known to do that once or twice.
They
before.
were just, they couldn't get rid of the Surge.
Right.
And so they were giving away like 36 can
It
pallets.
came back
What are
as
you
it
talking
came back
about?
as
Everyone bought Surge.
No,
one.
they
You didn't
were-
have
they
to
were giving
give
it
that
a-
away.
They were giving it away for free at the screening.
Oh, okay.
And so they had so
You're
much
making
left
it seem
over.
like they couldn't get rid of it. So
Well, that night
think it was
they
just
had
a
so much left over.
promo.
When-
It was a promo.
Yeah.
And so I had this pallet for about 10 years
Yeah.
of these 36 cans. Again, they did not keep.
I went
36 cans and it took you 10 years?
No, I didn't even touch them. They were in the
Oh.
basement. right next to the basement freezer where we kept the dead bodies.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but you ruined my joke.
When Dark Knight came out in 2008, I went to the Cinerama in Seattle to see it for the opening night for the midnight show, and the Monster energy drink truck pulled up and gave everyone in line Monster energy drinks, and there had to have been at least 500 people in line, and that entire city block smelled like Monster energy drink because you had 500 people opening the cans at the same time. Like, I had to walk away. It smelled so bad.
I don't know how people drink that stuff, but yes, we are drinking goat meal stout.
Nice. We're also made possible by Kaufman.
That was a long one.
Speaking
Kaufman
of
and
conversational
Associates.
podcasts,
Yeah.
that's what you get.
Yeah. They're at kaufmaninc.com. They make the podcast possible, and they make me possible. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Sean Springer.
This is Tom Deneen.
This is Jason McKee.
And this is Juan Moss. And before we go to Brandon real quick, I don't know if you guys have noticed, though.
Before I introduce
What's
myself,
up,
hi,
yeah?
I'm Brandon
This
Smith.
is more important than Brandon.
Yeah, it is.
Just so we know.
I'm just
Our
gonna
mutual
stop.
friend, Rachel Cox, is married.
Congratulations,
And she
Rachel.
got married yesterday. I believe it's
So we announced weddings now?
A week ago yesterday. It says 3:15. 3:14.
This is our second recording of the week.
That's right. So we're a week.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, anyways.
So
No,
we
but
announced
it's a-
weddings?
Let's do the time warp again.
Oh God! No, she actually is originally one of the original members of Spokane Film Project. So I just had a little,
No, that's
hello,
cool.
you know.
So that was more important than in introducing me.
Yeah, yeah,
shut
yeah.
up. Just shut up,
Before we get
Brandon.
to you.
Hey, Brandon, did
Brandon.
you ever get married?
Yeah. I
And
did?
I
Brandon
didn't
just
think
walked
so.
away.
I meant, yes, you did.
And
Anyway.
Brandon just walked away. He stormed out of the
yeah,
room.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your
Juan
name back there?
Sorry.
Who's that guy?
Springer, put us back on the
Are-
road
are any
plan,
of-
or we're gonna crash.
Are any of your other friends doing anything fun on Facebook?
Not
Who
right
else
now.
got married? Juan.
Well, let me give a shout out.
Ben Rachel, she's great.
I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Danny. He works at Costco, and today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Danny.
How do you know
Happy
today's
birthday,
his
Danny.
Because
Because-
we're actually a week later.
No, because it's actually his birthday. Well, when we're recording it, how do you
'Cause-
know she got married?
'cause
she could be
Facebook
divorced
told
by
us.
This is a
now.
whole thing about 12 monkeys and time
Oh
travel.
No.
Sean, how could you say that?
What?
Sean,
Please
that's the most horrible
Please don't
thing you
make
could
12
say.
monkeys
No,
the
it's
new
not. I can
Gotham.
say way worse things if you guys want me to get into it.
About what? I do
just-
want you to
just-
get into it.
Lost like all three of our
Wait.
listeners.
You
So-
just piqued my interest.
We're just let's.
Wait, what are we getting into?
We're gonna
Who are we getting
we're
into?
dishing on every well just in general we can talk about bad stuff. Okay. So anyways, last week on Gotham.
All right. And to the phone.
Yeah.
Guess who lost a leg?
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right, let's go.
so if anybody stuck through and didn't unsubscribe after our TV centric podcast last week, we're going to try to get back into some film reviews and talk about film stuff. We have our Netflix roulette. I think we'll start with that. That was off of Jason
We are the
McKee's
best.
Netflix.
Unfortunately.
And it was, I think I originally called it a documentary. I think just based
That's
off
Yeah,
of.
you
I
did.
thought it was.
I did.
I thought
Yeah.
it was
You
too
did,
when I
that
added it.
confused me.
Yeah.
It confused me until I started seeing that.
I
Realized it was
don't.
wrong.
I don't know why I thought it was a documentary, but I thought it was when I added it.
And I think I might have been reading a description that said it was shot like a documentary.
Documentary style.
But it is. Let me just.
It's
pull it up.
just shot like-
1970s.
it's really-
1970s documentary style.
It's really just shot like crap, is what it's
Well,
shot like.
it's a 2013 film. We Are the Best. It's a Swedish film, correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And it is about basically a couple of trio of 13-year-olds who are starting a punk band, and it's set in the 80s, I believe, kind of mid
Yes.
80s.
Right,
I don't know if
right.
there was ever really a time until they started talking about Ronald Reagan. I really didn't realize.
Reagan?
Yeah, Reagan, whatever.
Well, yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that sounds enthralling. I really should have watched this.
No,
You didn't watch it?
agree.
No, I didn't.
Okay, all right, never mind. Well, you
Yeah,
only had
you're
3
not allowed
weeks
to
to
talk.
do it.
Don't
Or
worry
4
about
weeks.
it.
So anyway, so Jason, it was off your cue. What did you think?
I had to try multiple times because I just kept falling asleep. It was that exciting, but I really couldn't get into it. I absolutely hated the camera work in it. Hated it. They abused the zoom, and I'm not someone who's opposed to using the zoom. They just abused it, and then would pan quickly to other actors who were saying something not important. So they would zoom in, pan to the next person, zoom out, pan to back to that person, zoom in. I mean, it was like someone who was learning the camera was shooting it. I'm sure the message of the film is good, but I just don't care.
You know what you got? It's funny because I was just thinking as you were saying that all those commentaries, like once you grab onto something technical, you have a hard time like seeing anything beyond that.
If it's technically bad first,
yeah,
and it doesn't have a ton extra going for it, then I don't really give a shit about it. Now, if it's technically bad, but it's great, it's always if it's great in story, then I'm gonna give it a pass technically.
Yeah.
But if it's just okay in story, then
you can forgive.
I'll forgive it. Yeah, but if it's got
for this one,
no,
right?
if it's got well, it was so annoying when it came to camera work that. But yes, I agree with you. I am very focused on the technical aspect of filmmaking. I think you should at least strive to know how to do things if you're going to try to make a film. But really, it comes down to story and script.
Right.
It starts there first. And if it doesn't have that, and I'm not saying this one completely doesn't, but it just didn't grab me. Sure. So I wasn't super interested in that. Like I said, it's got a good message, but message films don't really appeal to me unless there's something beyond that, and I didn't really find it in this film. But yeah, I mean, I'm very particular on the technical side of filmmaking.
And I'm not saying that's bad.
No, I know, but I do.
I'm the opposite. But
I do get criticized because I think people think I'm too particular on that. That's why going back to TV, what we talked about in the last episode. That's why a lot of times.
That was a long episode.
That's why a lot of time. That's why I like comedies when it comes to, because you can be rough around the edges, and that's part of the charm where they look into the camera and it enhances a joke.
Right.
I know maybe that's becoming kind of a cliche or a little overdone, but I personally like it still.
Well, no, and I agree with you. I think that it's funny that you and I come at films from two different perspectives. I think your immediate response is usually from the technical level. For me, it's from the character and performance level.
No, it's always from that first, but by the time you get into that, I'm already annoyed by the technical. Right. With this film, I found it annoying within the first minute.
Right.
Where you're zooming into their face, panning over to someone else who's not saying anything important. You're in there might be a few important things in that conversation, but those emphasized camera movements are not important to what they're talking about.
No, I have to agree with you on that. I would say for me it was interesting. It was like I kept going back. I kept stopping I did not a bunch of times, but like twice I stopped the film and go, wait, did I read this right? It's 2013, right?
Yeah.
Because everything that the movie was trying to do made me feel of that whole dogma movement, and it was trying to be that, but it wasn't quite that.
I don't know what it was trying to be.
And it was trying to be like with the snap zoom stuff, and it felt like even the coverage, some of the coverage was in such a way that they wanted to make sure they got all the lines in, so they just used whatever piece they got because they randomly shot it. I had to say that I did kind of enjoy the three girls' performances. I did like that.
No, they were good.
They were
I
really
think some of the peripheral actors were not as good.
Well, painful.
Yeah.
Some were painful to watch. But then I did have a hard time. I did struggle through it. I said, I can't want to finish.
Who was bad? Who did you think was painful? Just curious.
Peripheral actors. So no one super important, but a lot of the extras that had lines.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say they were bad, but they just stood out so much. Like, okay.
Oh, really?
It just kind of took me out.
Oh.
Like the two guys that ran the youth group, they were okay, but a lot of the parents, like the big parent dinner scene, I was like,
really?
you know.
Yeah, I was never bothered by it, but
it wasn't. It doesn't like it bugged me atrociously. But the other kids, there was a genuine That's why I thought they were going for that whole dogma feel. It's kind of like this rawness to it, right? And it would make sense with the theme of a punk rock band.
Maybe that's why we all thought it was a documentary going in.
Yeah. I will tell you that I do feel that their storyline, I'm like, this is taking way too long. This is just being belingered, and we're going nowhere. And at the end of the day, even when you end the film, you could take me on a ride that's super slow, and at the end, like, wrap it up for me in such a way that the package, I'm like, okay, the ride was slow, but it was worth it.
See, even
this one was not worth it.
A slow film should never really feel slow.
Right.
You can actually have a slow pace, but it should be interesting the entire way. But it doesn't feel slow.
We repeated the same themes like I would say there's a couple of times that we repeated the same theme at least 3 times.
But
we didn't move forward at all.
A completely different film, but you look at Shawshank Redemption, 3.5-hour movie. That is actually slow. But does it feel slow? No. It never feels slow. And I would challenge you to...
There's a continuous progression in actor action, storyline.
Well, yeah,
but they're always...
overall pacing is...
They're always in the same place, though. They're always in the same place until the very last act or last part of the act.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But that's a film that, again, these 2 films are nothing similar. So it's hard to compare them. But I'm just saying that's a...
The question I had for you guys, which I walked away from at the end, I'm like, okay, am I just being so hard on this film because...
Because you hate the Swedish?
No, I actually was going to just say I do have an understanding of Swedish culture. I've actually spent some time there. I was in... and I have some Swedish friends. And so when I started... Swedish ladies, no. When I realized it was the 80s, like you said, when I realized it was the 80s, and I was like, wait, would this been more prevalent for me if I was Swedish from that culture at that time? You know, would it have been more prevalent? Would I have been more entranced by it? Was that the missing piece of the equation? And as I was driving down here to come to the podcast, I went, no, it can't be. Mm-hmm. Because if it's a really well-told story, it doesn't matter if I'm from that culture or not. I should get entrenched and involved in that storyline. And at some point, I was like, just pick up the guitar and go sing, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had a totally different reaction. I wouldn't say I loved the film, but I actually really enjoyed the film. I guess my main thoughts of it, the documentary style never really took me out of it. I thought the performances of the 3 girls were really good. I was constantly waiting for something like mellow. Well, no, and I mean that. I mean, it's a real mellow movie. It's this real simple story. It's like this slice of life with these kids. Mm-hmm. Nothing ever happens. So at every corner, I was waiting for one of them to get like killed or assaulted or something like that.
Why do you wait for kids to be killed or assaulted?
Because they deserve it.
Oh, okay. Well,
no. At least
you own it.
At a certain point, when one of the girls goes to see the boy, you think is this going to become a Lifetime movie? Is it going to become like something else? And it never became that. And I think at the very end, I almost respected it for not going that way.
I don't
and
also this film.
Even though. And I also kept expecting it to build to like the battle of the bands, and they were going to win the battle of the bands.
They didn't do that.
No,
but another film that I'm sure you guys probably like, which is
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
School of Rock. Yeah, but that's whole different. I was a whole different ride.
Yeah, I know,
because it was about his ride, not the student's ride.
But still, it's cliche to build to it.
Yeah, but I agree with a lot what you're saying there. I mean, even though I was kind of somewhat pretty much bashing it right there at that moment, my favorite scene is the 2, where I was really like hopeful for the movie, was right in the opening, where the 2 girls are on the phone, and the one girl goes, oh, my mom, she just sucks, she's like the worst. She goes, oh, you're lucky you don't have my parents, listen to this. And she takes her phone and just hangs it out there. Yeah. You just hear like a normal drama conversation of a husband and wife complaining about, I think it was the dishes, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was
the dishes or laundry. Laundry.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
laundry,
and this fight about the laundry stuff. I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of a fun thing to look at. These kids. But it never. It like these little subtle premises, which I thought, ooh, this is going to be a nice little
nice little
payoff for this,
Right, and
or
they're
a nice,
never is.
and then never is.
Yeah.
They're
So you
never
were
is.
talking about the documentary style earlier. My problem with it is that they wanted you to know it was documentary style.
It was there was a little too much of that. Yeah.
There was zero subtlety in it.
Well, that's why I was wondering if it's not really truly documentary style. That was going more because even the lighting,
Well,
and
it's
the
not document-
even the technical
Yeah.
aspect of it felt more like the Dogma style, which was in the 80s was very popular and all in that region.
80s. It was more 90s. That's Lars von Trier.
But no, it's it starts in
Lars
does it
von
start in the
Trier.
mid 80s.
No, Lars von Trier is the
Yeah.
the guy that it's him and some other people. That,
Yeah, but I thought it started like in the mid 80s though.
I think it's called. I thought it was called Dogma 95 or something.
yeah,
like
Dogma
that.
95.
Isn't that
yeah.
your email one?
Yeah, that's for a whole other reason.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah,
that might be. Is that
yeah.
why it's called Dogma 95?
That's what I've always heard, but I don't. I mean, regardless, I haven't
didn't-
seen too many.
I didn't
Dogma
feel this one
films.
was Dogma
Yeah.
at all because it
No,
didn't feel.
I felt it was trying to be.
Maybe that's why-
if it was
emulate
trying
that
to be,
feeling.
then I think they failed.
I think so, definitely.
Failed miserably, but
The documentary style was very over the top, so it almost became like, I don't know. I think if that did pull you out, I would actually say it brought me in a little bit more.
really,
Yeah, I mean,
You're right, it's 95. You're
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Sorry.
I thought, I mean, I don't know. I actually really enjoyed the film, and I think just because of it didn't try to be anything more than just a little slice of life, and that's what I enjoyed. And you know,
Was it a very big
no,
slice or
see,
deep slice?
well,
I-
no,
I
but I'm
like
not saying.
those-
You know,
I like those
that's
type
what
of
I wanted.
films.
I mean, I love slice of life, but I wanted some deep slice in there.
I mean, if you want to compare it, I don't know how many.
you wanted some double D slices in
Double
there.
D slice.
Double D.
I don't know how many other films you could compare this to for slice of life. I mean, this isn't a kids' film necessarily.
No, I mean,
but it's
they-
also.
I showed it to my kids.
Oh no, but I'm saying necessarily, it's not necessarily a kids' film.
It's not a kids' film. I mean, they say the
Right,
F
right,
word
right,
and
right,
stuff.
right,
but
right.
yeah,
but
it's
I-
one
I
of
mean-
those films where I feel like they say it honest. They do it honestly. They say what the kids speak how they would.
Right.
But you could still show. It's kind of like in a lesser version, the '80s films like Goonies, where they would say shit
Yeah.
instead of the F word, which I wish existed today.
Right.
We've gotten so politically correct with the big films that come out, not the indie films. Obviously, those will still do whatever
films,
they want.
the film's
Podcast
coming from
either.
What's that?
Nickelodeon
Not
and
on this
Disney.
podcast.
No, even though Tom wants to be, no one cares. No,
I'm so not.
we're
involved
talking
in this
about things
conversation.
that. Yes, I know. We've just been
Because
making
I
fun
didn't
of you
watch
for the past.
movie. Yeah.
No, we're talking about this podcast
So,
being
It's
G-rated
not an
versus not.
But going back to the film, it's not an atrocious
Still
film,
not
but
listening.
I really wanted more
Not
out of
even
it. I
gonna-
was
Right, yeah.
excited. Once I realized it wasn't a documentary, once I realized about these young girls,
Yeah.
well, they're all about
They're 13,
12,
I
12,
think. supposed to
13
be.
years old,
Yeah.
and they're all different backgrounds, all different family styles. I was like really hoping this was gonna do something. There'd be something fun.
Yeah.
It never got
One
there
thing
for me.
is, why did we all think it was an actual documentary?
Because I listen to Springer.
No, based off of
Because
there was-
I did, and I feel kind of stupid for it because everything I,
think I
saw
read
felt-
something-
Springer. Just
Yeah.
find Springer.
there was some description or something that I read online when we picked it and I brought it up. I think it said filmed like a documentary or documentary style. Something was said, and I just saw a documentary and went with it. So I apologize. Next time,
No.
Next time I'll do more research.
Next time on the Film
That'll never
Project
happen.
Podcast.
So
Whoa.
when they ultimately do get to the end scene and that they have their little concert, I really enjoyed that.
The
scene.
concert was great.
I
loved the
like where it
fact-
went.
I loved how
Yeah.
that went. That direction that we went, where they were not accepted, and they were. It was like a true punk concert. I mean, the audience was spitting on them. We're gonna kill you. And then the bus conversation that follows right after that, I actually like that too. There's like a handful of scenes which were my favorites. There was the phone one at the beginning. There's the train one after the friends all have the fight about the boy. The little train scene where they all kind of reconnect.
Yeah.
And then the concert and the bus ride where the girl's like, I don't care if they didn't like us. We're still the best.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I do like the scene where they actually write their name in the schedule slot and
Yeah.
force the band out because
Yeah.
it's a technicality.
The technicality, yeah.
You know-
she's smart. That one was smart. you
Yeah.
know?
Nope, you
Yeah.
said, and the band was forced to go out of there. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I guess
a whole
stars wise, what'd you give it,
Me?
Jason? Yeah.
You know, I think a 2 is too harsh, but a 3 I can't say I like the film.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in between, like 2.5.
I'm at a 2.5.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Netflix said I would give it a 3, and when I
Really?
finished, I'm like, you're a 2.5. You're not a 3.
No, I gave it a 3. It's funny because I'm giving it a 3, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Because you like little girls.
Exactly. No, I think this would be a film. This would be a film I'd show my 13-year-old niece. If
I told
she's.
I would if it
Did
was.
Sasha watch it?
Yeah, I would try to get her to. I mean, there's a big fight to try to get any kid to watch.
Yeah.
Which is one
Subtitles.
complaint I did have. I did have a complaint about the film. The speed of the subtitles was super fast at the beginning, and I think it had to do.
Is that sometimes that's because of the language barrier? Some languages
They translate
they
differently.
translate way
real
quicker,
fast.
and then some depending on the language, I'm like, oh man, this is like a leisurely film.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it was.
I never have any problems with Asian films, but I haven't. I guess aside from but I'm just saying.
I thought
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo
I've
is
seen that
Swedish also.
before, and I've never had a problem before.
I thought I
kept
remembered.
It was more at the beginning, and I think it's because there was so many people talking.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like this overlap. So they were trying to keep to that pace. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, crap, I missed that. I didn't finish that.
Yeah.
I would definitely show it to my kids. I definitely would show it to Sasha the theme, and which is why I was pushing for everyone to see the Duff too, because I thought it would marry really well with this. The theme for females, it's great, but also just the theme for even my 14-year-old boy to watch. It's just like screw it. I don't care what people think. You believe what you're gonna do is gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, Tom, what did you think of the film?
I want to give the film number of stars.
A number of stars. There we go.
There you go.
Brandon, have you watched
many?
any film? Brandon, what's the
Number
last
of
film you've
stars.
gotten to watch?
Okay, good. Brandon, why don't you ever watch films?
I'm busy doing other stuff.
You are not. We're all busy. We were watching films while working on Z Nation.
I know.
What's your excuse?
I don't have an excuse.
Yeah,
So-
I know.
I don't.
His wife
Yeah.
controls the controller.
Oh,
So
that's just sad. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say, if you played Robot Rundown, if you played,
Stop trying to make a plug. It's
what's
obvious.
What is it? Tap Streak?
Tap Streak.
If you played
that's one
Tap
of the
Streak,
games.
or if we have an upcoming
Okay.
game that he's working
making
on.
video
No, listen.
And anyone that wants to give my boy here, Brandon, crap.
I'm
you're
going to give him crap.
through
I'm
me,
going to give him crap. I'm going to give him
Okay.
crap. I'll tell
No,
you why.
it's
because
fair.
as much as he's doing all that stuff, which is phenomenal and great, there's a moment where you have to walk away from that stuff to get a little refreshness, and he's turning on what at that point?
Gotham.
I turned on
Gotham.
No.
Flash Gordon.
No,
watching
you
the-
haven't. You
I
have
watched
not been
Flash Gordon.
defending Gotham.
The Flash, not
No.
Flash Gordon.
No.
Brandon's been the one that has been not defending Gotham. You guys have been the ones that have been defending that.
I
So-
watched House of Cards. I caught up on
Yeah.
House of Cards.
You're-
So come on.
There you go.
That's a binge watch.
I didn't binge
So
it.
that's-
It
So
still
that's
takes. It still takes just as many.
You don't have-
Okay, all right. I guess I'm on Juan's team.
I tried to drag Jason over. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Don't go to the dark side.
Okay. Yeah.
You got drafted before I could grab you. Sorry.
So I guess the other film that we all got a chance to watch was Chappie. Everybody got to
Yes.
see Chappie.
Yeah, I did.
Got terrible reviews.
And that's another
Just
one where the
murder.
trailer totally screws the movie.
I don't think so.
No.
Why?
No,
I'm
the
curious.
trailer-
No, I'm
The trailer
curious
I saw-
why you think
Because
that.
when we were trying to list what movies we're going to watch, and I
Okay.
saw Chappie on the list, and I'd seen the trailer, I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's another robot movie, it's sci-fi, blah, blah. We've done this so many times, we need something else on the thing. That's not what that movie for me was about when I
But
finished.
I'd agree to the extent of the story of Chappie looked like Short Circuit 3.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yes.
but my interest of it, of course, was Neil Blomkamp, who directed it and
wrote it, co-wrote it.
and co-wrote it.
I
and,
believe that was based on a short film he had done that kind of got him noticed.
Oh, really?
Really.
Yeah.
Wait, you-
Called Chappie, right?
No.
I could be
Are
wrong.
we talking about what Jackson recognized him from? It was a spec shoot that he did for
District 9.
District 9.
That's what it was.
I heard something about
wait,
Chappie
Jackson?
He might have
being
done a
not
pitch
an
video.
original thing, that it was something he had created
Google, boy,
prior.
Google,
Yeah,
Google,
Google.
Google.
I think the trailer made it seem very not generic's not the right word, but we've seen this story before.
No, you are. The generic is right. It's very homogenized, generic. This is what it's. You're going to get the thing.
And me and Jason were talking about this beforehand. That's how I felt the first third of it was, and then I thought it got really interesting for the, maybe the next hour.
When did it switch for you?
For me, I think once, of course, I'm not thinking of a great moment, but it kind of felt like after about that first third, I felt I had seen everything. Is it Dev Patel?
Dev Patel.
His character just seemed like he was straight out of Short Circuit. I think maybe it's at the point when he starts making regular trips back to visit Chappie.
Chappie, right?
And I think it's also when the dad, the dad or whatever he calls himself, father, Ninja. Yeah, once Ninja actually starts trying to
be a dad.
Well, yeah. Well, instead of just being violent with him, there's the dad aspect, but there's also the aspect of him. He knows how he's going to have to start manipulating Chappie.
Sure.
And I think that's when the story goes a little. That's when I think the flow started changing. Beforehand, it was like Sigourney Weaver was playing Sigourney Weaver playing the boss.
Well, there's nothing written there for
no.
her.
Oh no, and I understand that. That's
just
why
putting
I'm
a famous face in there, and
the story was basically just Short Circuit 2.
And I'm not really
Which is my
faulting
favorite
it for
Short
that.
Circuit
What are you
movie,
going to
don't get me
give her
Wait,
to
but I'm
do?
curious.
You know?
Wait, in Short Circuit 2, was there?
That's when he comes to New York. It's
I
one of
was-
my favorite movies.
So,
of all time.
is there a Hugh
It is
Jackman
not.
kind of character there?
Hugh Jackman's no. I don't know, but
How many mullets are there? Did Gutenberg have a mullet?
No, Gutenberg wasn't in Short Circuit 2. It was.
I've
what's
only
his
seen
name from,
one.
What's his name from
I've
Spinal
only seen
Tap?
one.
Yeah.
I've only seen one.
The guy from Spinal Tap.
Which one? There's five people. Or
no,
was it
Michael
one of the drummers
McKean?
that
Michael
blew up?
McKean's in it.
Oh.
Michael McKean's in it. He plays the role that Ninja would be playing.
I have to be honest. Die Antwoord was pretty good as actors.
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I had some issues with both Ninja and I can't remember her name's performance right now.
yeah.
But they did
The
grow
mom.
The mom. Yeah.
I
What was
was,
her name? What was her
I don't
name?
remember.
It's like
Why do you have an issue
Vidrils
with them?
or something like
Why?
that. It's just they felt a little too over the top. They felt we've seen.
You're talking about
musicians-
Die Antwoord.
Yeah, we're talking about Diane.
Yeah,
It was
they
already
are
over the top.
yeah.
If
Yeah.
you've seen any of their videos, but just that whole when non-acting musicians get into acting, they're so used to being so very over the top and flamboyant.
But
and
they are
wait,
still
wait,
performers.
did you-
for them to
still-
fall into their
But so
character.
Yeah.
you didn't embrace. Here's the beauty, like what he was talking about, that turn.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when it first started, I got these wacky characters that make me feel like something out of Mad Max.
Yeah.
And then in Mad Max,
Yeah.
you accepted all that wacky.
Right,
Because everything else
that was
is
the world.
wacky. Yeah.
I mean, so I accepted that they're wacky. I accepted that
In this film.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so did
totally.
I.
So
Yeah.
when that third that Springer was talking about, that turn, when all of a sudden she starts acting like a mom.
Yeah.
You know, and even Ninja, even though he's manipulating, he starts by manipulating and then eventually starts becoming like a dad. And then all of a sudden there's the relationship between the mom and Ninja and the love. I mean, it just, the whole story changed.
Yeah.
I
It
actually
had
really
so much more depth.
Yeah,
in it
I really
that-
appreciated it because of
Totally,
that.
exactly.
I read, I didn't read a single review
Neither did I.
until after, and
What
then I
did- what
watched
did-
it and
what
I
they
go,
say?
I'm curious what they said. Rotten Tomatoes, 30%. I go, are you
ridiculous. Yeah.
kidding?
Yeah.
And then I was looking at why, because I thought I knew probably maybe a few issues, but all I read was it has narrative issues, which is a generic term.
Yeah,
Was
it's
that-
we can't put our finger on why
So-
we don't feel it's
So-
elite
So
enough in our own minds.
my big problem with the film, and what I could see that they could say is the problem, is that Neil Blomkamp has been guilty lately of finding the few things in the story that are convenient for him as a storyteller.
Yeah.
Their limitations. So the fact that Chappie can't recharge or change out his battery. Come on, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's inconsistent for one because the police only it's good news that they bought 100 new Chappies essentially, or robots. So it's not like something that's on a recycle scale or on a revolving
Right.
scale to where you buy 100 new every week or so when they die. And it's in the future. It wouldn't make sense. We have recharging batteries or
Right now,
replaceable
yeah.
batteries now.
No,
What they
I thought they
said was
explained
that
it,
the battery had fused to the casing.
But that's
I heard that. Yes, I know they
from,
said
from
that.
the injury, and
Yes.
so they wouldn't be able to replace
From the injury.
that.
Come
okay.
on.
My battery is fused in my iPhone.
Yes.
Technically,
You can still-
I can take
No,
it.
no, no,
No,
it's
it's
For
not.
all
it's not.
okay, I can't. Okay, here's the
Let
thing.
me melt it
I can't.
first.
I can't
It's
change
too
this out
freaking
myself, but Alan
convenient
can.
for the store.
Yes, you could. You could buy the battery
Okay.
online. You could open up your phone.
Okay.
and you
Okay,
could-
fine. Chappie's 100% realistic. We're
So-
done.
No.
So what I'm saying is,
It's a
even
technicality but we're talking science fiction, so all the nerds are going to call it a technicality.
All they have to say.
but
I agree.
still, it's
Wait,
something that
it's not
I just
believable.
I just find it
Right.
not believable.
They
There's
can
enough
say-
outs
Yeah.
as a realistic person now. We're not even in the future to say that that's not realistic.
They could add
It
a line.
feels- yeah.
There's a better. They could come up with 100 different ways to get out of that. They could say, "Oh, your battery is damaged and it's tied to your brain, and we can't swap it out for
Spend
something else."
15 minutes
Well,
coming up with
with a
another
different alternative.
alternative
what Patel's
in writing,
character-
and you'd be fine.
What Patel's character was saying in this case was that his the battery was fused to his case through the damage to his
Yeah.
From the,
So-
from
So
the, from
his
the rocket.
quote unquote
So
soul is
his-
in his chest.
No.
No,
That
no.
he did not believe that he would be able to successfully transplant which this is like, oh, it's a computer. It's hard drive data.
I
It's
know.
ones
Okay.
and zeros. He
just-
he didn't feel he would be able to successfully transfer this consciousness that he developed.
We're gonna
into a new
remember
shell.
this. We're gonna remember this the next time Tom Blank brings up any plot hole. We're gonna remember
No,
this.
this
I'm on Tom's
was
side.
the excuse that he was giving to say that he would not be able to do it.
I think it's a poor excuse. It's a poor excuse that's too convenient for the story.
That's my
I'm not
problem.
disagreeing.
I think you
saying
spend
this
literally
is why
you
they
spend
said.
15 minutes. You spend 15 minutes as a writer, and you could come up with anything better, and still have your entire film be pretty much the same.
And I think
That's the
there's
best
a lot of other moments like this
that's
in the
then
in
that's
the film.
unfortunate.
That's,
You know,
A lot of the stuff that happens with Hugh Jackman. The one thing, I mean, I
God.
really like
Hugh
film. A lot of the stuff that
a
happened
huge
with
problem of mine was Hugh Jackman.
Well-
his performance and that fucking mullet of his. That was just
Mullet?
absurd.
what's wrong with? See,
I'm
what's
sorry,
wrong with his mullet?
You saw his fucking hair.
it was
Yeah,
it
sorry.
was no worse
wait,
than
wait,
your.
you just screwed
Hulk
up our
Hogan.
rating, okay?
Yes, I
You don't
did.
know
I
that?
did.
The mullet
was
is
not a
what
mullet.
took you over the top to say the F word twice
In
on an otherwise G-rated.
Do you have a personal issue with mullets?
the portrayal of his character as something that defined and made his
Okay.
character.
How is
I do
that a
his
feel-
mullet?
hair, his
It's not a
hair
mullet.
was
Yeah,
so
that's a mullet.
Anti-Wolverine comb.
That's a
no,
mullet.
It's
Okay,
the
look at that. Look
anti-Wolverine
at that.
comb. It's not a
Business
mullet.
in the front, party in the back.
There's
That's a mullet.
You have 10% less party in the back than Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
No, so I
But his-
Hugh Jackman was a little
10% less
one-dimensional.
money in
Yeah, his character was just so.
He's great in it. I think if anyone's going to do a good job with a one-dimensional character, it's Hugh Jackman.
And here's where I was curious to see if, while I was watching the film, the only thing that took me out of the film was I was watching because I really did not want to go see this because I was arguing with Springer like, no, we can't. And I got the wrong time, so I didn't go see Focus like we were supposed to. I got there for Chappie, right? And I walked in, so I was already expecting something else. And when it starts off, I'm like, all right. The one thing that took me out, which I was wondering, it was just a question of mine. I wonder if this movie's going to have issue with Hugh Jackman playing such the bad guy.
Yeah.
And because there has been a tradition where you get these heroes, these guys who play the heroes, the good guy, that film the general public doesn't respond to because they walk away and no, Hugh Jackman can't be a bad guy. You know.
He's the Wolverine.
But I didn't see that as a problem.
No, I didn't see it as a problem. I don't see it as a problem.
No, I mean
I'm just
even
saying-
in critically,
Critically, I don't. And I think I loved his hairdo personally because it was so I personally think if you look at his
it was
hairdo,
so un-Hugh Jackman.
No. If you take a picture of him and that character, take a picture of him as Wolverine, it's basically the reversed look hair-wise. Everything was pushed forward. It was all flat. It's supposed to be
They
going
never
up and back.
They portrayed him like more of a computer nerd. He was,
No.
and even the way they dressed him
No.
was a little
no, because
less.
Tom's a computer nerd.
But
Yeah.
he's not a computer nerd. He was a soldier who
He's a soldier.
then
He's a military.
became
But I'm
an
saying-
engineer.
There's even a little jab.
I
little
didn't
jab
say
where
he
goes,
was.
"Oh,
I
you
said
were."
they portrayed him like he's sitting in a cubicle
I
and
did
he's
really.
working on a bunch
I have
of
to
tech.
say, I really liked the scene where he came up and was
With the
literally
fucking-
holding a
with the
gun to
gun?
him, and then goes, "Ha, it's a joke."
In the middle of
It's
the
like-
office.
Dude, because he's fucking
surrounded
whacked.
by Cube Ladesh.
He was whacked. The whole point of this is that he was whacked. He was a military guy. He was pushing the whole military concept.
He was a bully.
And he pushed over the edge. Yeah, he went over the edge. You know, so it all makes sense. So I agree with McKee on the performance of Jackman. It's a one-note character.
Yeah, that was
it's a
very
one-note
much so.
character.
That was my
But-
problem with.
He did a really good job with the one-note character.
Yeah,
I also say regarding the violence in the film, I don't know. When I feel it's motivated, that character would have done that. The violence felt appropriate. It was the violence. He rips apart a guy,
and he
that guy
saves-
was psycho. Hugh Jackman was psychotic.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was a
but
psycho.
yeah, totally.
But I mean, so some people would say that, oh my god, that was so over the top, took me out. To me, it didn't. And I would argue in a lot of films that doing that exact same thing would feel cartoonish because it didn't feel appropriate to that character. I feel it was, and I think in Elysium, that's one thing I really liked about Neil Blomkamp is that the character that Charlton Copley played that gets just annihilated in Elysium, and Neil Blomkamp does not hold back because that's what would happen. And I see that happen so much that in revenge stories or in something else, they hold back or they don't show it in a way that is not like don't show and don't, show.
Don't show, don't tell.
I think
Well,
this
it's
film.
it's kind of the opposite. It's in a negative way. It's not in a positive way like Jaws was. It's in a negative way where you're just copping out. You're just not showing it because you for some other reason.
Sure.
And I actually that's what I do like about Neil Blomkamp is that he will show it.
Yeah.
But it always feels appropriate to that character. Now, I do think he does have character problems sometimes with Hugh Jackman, but if anyone's going to play a one-dimensional character, it's going to be Hugh Jackman.
Why
think.
are you saying he has a lot of experience at it?
No. Well, in some ways, yeah. In some ways that's the problem with The Fountain.
the remake
He's
of
playing-
RoboJocks or whatever it was?
The Fountain.
Which one?
Real Steel was amazing.
Is that the boxer one?
That was
Yeah,
that
it
was,
is. It is. I was kidding. I was
Yeah, no,
kidding.
I know,
I was
yeah.
kidding.
I
But
would
he's
say,
playing. Wolverine is fairly a one-dimensional character.
Wait, whoa. No, he's not.
It kind of is.
No, he's not.
He's got
Fountain-
anger.
No,
He's
that's-
got anger and compassion.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
he does.
Fountain.
That's two dimensions
two
right
dimension
there.
right
The
there.
Fountain
And
is
he's got
fairly.
love, too, when
Yeah. I know
That's
all
great.
the bullet points that he's hitting. The Fountain is fairly one-dimensional, but he plays it as he. One thing you can say about Hugh Jackman is, regardless how ridiculous the character is that he's playing, he goes full.
No, he's totally committed to it.
He's completely committed.
That's why you buy it.
Yeah.
That's
and
why you buy it.
I can't
Yes.
I can't you don't really hear a lot of hate thrown at him,
Right.
because he kind of does a lot of things.
He
Plus,
does.
he's
Yeah.
super sexy
even-
with the help, right?
But I've always been a fan of Hugh Jackman, even when he's doing things that I'm not interested in, because he's fully committed.
Yeah.
Because even if it's a stupid idea, if he signed on,
Yeah.
he's
You're good.
committed.
You go 100%.
And that's-
you have
yeah.
100%
Yeah.
of it.
He's
When
a
tap
through and
dancing,
through
when he's
actor.
dancing, when he's singing. I mean, it's 100%.
Well, and this goes back to the question earlier of what was the inception of Chappie.
Yeah.
Okay.
On an interview on comingsoon.net, Blomkamp says that where it came from was while he was working on Elysium, he was working on the droids that are in the movie for Elysium, and he was wondering what would it be like. And he was listening to Die Antwoord at the time separately.
He was listening to what? I'm sorry.
Die Antwoord,
the
the
band
musician.
who
The band,
plays
yeah.
the-
Yeah.
And he was wondering, one night he came up with the idea of what would it be like if the band raised one of the robots that was on Elysium. So
He must have been stoned.
So I'm glad he got like $120 million just based off that to make
But,
Chappie.
yeah.
Right. And then another interesting fact was in this interview, he says that he thought it would be really interesting if Diane Ward were to play themselves. So just what you were saying, talking about playing.
But I thought they did it well. Even if they're going to...
Going back to what Jason said about violence, the thing I really appreciate about this movie is how it used violence.
And when.
Because as you get to the final act, it took me, I didn't even realize this was an R-rated film. I thought it was PG-13, and then you get to it, and they finally show some violence. They could have had, during like the other little robbery that they have, or some other moments throughout the film, they had moments where they could, where the cops they could have done any. I think Paul Verhoeven would have made this a gore fest from the beginning.
Yeah, you're talking about someone who definitely abuses violence.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul Verhoeven.
And I think in the wrong hands, this film would have been consistently violent. And I think you get more out of this film because they save that till the end. And when it happens, it's brutal. And when certain characters get hurt or killed, you really feel it. More than I think you would if you had seen the robots kicking in people's faces.
You feel it because you feel it through Chappie. I mean, by that time when all that stuff that you're talking about is happening, not to spoil it for folks that haven't seen it yet, you feel it through the robot. It's the first time you're going, and I wish I had had enough time. I wanted to go back and watch Artificial Intelligence and just kind of compare the two and kind of think of some of the philosophical questions that were being brought up in that one and in this one.
That film gets a lot of hate. I still stand by AI.
I like it. I really like it. Yeah.
I think it's overly long, and it's got the same problem as some Peter Jackson films, like the third Lord of the Rings, where there's false endings.
Yeah.
But with that, if you were to fix the false endings and I mean, people are holding in their pee. You don't want to mess with those people.
Right.
But with taking away that, I continually go back to AI, and I continually watch it because it's a film that it's got moments in it, or even the whole film. It's such an odd film to me in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
You've got Jude Law playing a male prostitute.
Right. You have that whole sex city that they go to.
The what is it? Flesh Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's dark. I'm curious what it would have been like
the android battles that they have, where they just make them fight.
Yeah.
Honestly,
that was creepy.
Kubrick never intended to direct that film.
Yeah.
Never. But I'm curious what it would have been like with Kubrick directing it,
or even with more input. It's funny I
think there would be less issues with less people having issues with that film if that happened.
Yeah, but there's also Spielberg has you're talking about two of my favorite filmmakers that are friends, but they're on completely opposite spectrums. Spielberg makes the films that really look into the human condition, and then the big films that are just huge spectacle films, but they're always fun or interesting. But then some of them are slow and boring, but they look at a real human issue, where Kubrick does completely different films, always cold, even when they're looking into the quote-unquote human condition.
There's a disconnect.
But it's kind of crazy because they were like good friends in real life.
Yeah.
And to have the producer Kubrick want Spielberg to make that film, and then he ends up doing it after he died, I think it would have been a slightly different film if Kubrick produced it.
Had lived to produce it.
Yeah, but he never intended to direct it. But I'm curious if he had directed.
There would have been more, and I think there would have been more exchange between the two.
There's no way for Spielberg to direct it the way Kubrick would have directed it. Right. It's not possible. You're talking about the auteur theory and all that kind of stuff.
But going back to Chappie, I do agree with Springer and what he said. It's like that first third kind of, there's a little bit of a cookie cutterness to the first third of it. But once that turn happens, though, I was like, holy crap, this is great. And there's not just the performances, it's not just the storytelling of that aspect. There's a lot of philosophical questions being discussed.
And I was
everything from parenting to
do you think it's
an
one
aspect of your environment.
Yeah.
I'll play the devil's advocate here, though. Do you think it's a one-note philosophical question?
No,
I think on the surface
there's like 9 questions in that.
But
if you if you forgot, I'm sorry, Sean.
Yeah.
If you forgot just the whole police state thing and all that other crap, and just concentrated on the mom and Ninja and Chappie in their home, it's a whole thing. There's a whole different discussion about parenting styles, about
I think it all comes back to execution, and we talk about that for films all the time. There's no new ideas in this film. Like I said, literally, Short Circuit 2.
I think
this is no. Okay, no, I'm sorry.
I'll
I'm
let
sorry.
you finish, but I do disagree, and I'll let you finish, and then say what I mean.
As far as the main issues they talk about, as far as what is a soul, what is parenting, what is product of the environment, everything that we've talked about. Every bit of that is done in Short Circuit 2 and Short Circuit 1. And my unproduced script that I wrote for Short Circuit 3.
Yeah.
No.
Not at this level. Not at this level.
But
this was
and
done.
thank you for finishing my sentence.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, we talked about execution. These are ideas that have been brought up in many different movies, but they're executed really well. So this first third of it, I was kind of sitting there saying, okay, he's going to learn how to be a gangster now. Okay, now they're teaching him how to shoot a gun. Okay, someone told him not to break a promise. There was all these kind of cliche things, but then it's done really well and it's executed to the finish very well. And I think that's the point.
And I think I agree with you 100%. And I think for me, one of the most poignant scenes that they really added everything up was when Chappie was throwing Hugh Jackman around. He was there for revenge. Could easily gone to like a Neeson revenge film, Bruce Willis revenge film, and he's going to kill and crush this guy, and
Still doesn't.
It still does. And he beats the living crap out of him.
He made a promise.
And he goes,
proportional response.
Yeah. And I said, I now forgive you. It was that was moving for me. I thought
just so you know, Liam Neeson doesn't take revenge. He is revenge.
He is the new Chuck Norris.
I think there is new stuff here. And actually, for me to explain it would kind of ruin the ending of this film.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'll just leave it at that, I guess. You got to see the film to agree with me or disagree with me.
I'm actually glad, I have to tell you the truth, I'm actually glad I misread the times and showed up to that film. I was really happily surprised. I was really happily surprised by that film.
Yeah.
And everything that I got out of it.
Yeah.
And even though the first third is a little cookie cutter, I was okay with it because the payoff at the end justified it. Justified me going, okay, everything's been set up for me. Now I can write.
And a lot of that goes back to, there's a lot of films that have the same story, and it depends on where they take that story. Avatar is a really simple film, but that starts off with a very simple idea with a story that's been told many times in different situations. But I don't think you get the payoff from Avatar that you get from Chappie.
No, you do not.
And that's what I love. I think there's a lot of people who, and there's something to be said about, when you do a film with a big concept, you have to find a way to bring people into it. And Avatar brings people into that concept and never really elevates it. Interstellar brings people into a big concept and over explains it to them. I think Chappie takes their concept. I think Chappie brings people into the concept they're trying to do and elevates it to a level that's a little better.
I think every in a film, not Chappie.
Without beating.
I think
it over
every film you just listed, which was Chappie, Interstellar, and Avatar, all have the problem or the misfortune of being overly criticized.
Right.
Too. So maybe they're worthy of some criticism, but they were definitely over criticized because of their size and their grandiosity.
Yeah.
You look at Chappie. 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
30%. There's a lot of films that are way, way worse than Chappie ever could be.
What does Little Nicky have on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, see what that. You look at it, and look, we've talked about this before. Michael Bay. Michael Bay, I'm not going to defend, but come on, every film he comes out with is 30%, and if you're talking technically, they're all very well done.
Little Nicky is
extremely well done. His problem is that he's just he doesn't give a shit about story, and he's overly superficial about everything.
Little
So
Nicky's
Nicky is
22%.
So little Nicky beats.
There
me-
is some justice
Let
in
me
the
ask
world.
you this though, because there was a certain point towards a slower moment in the movie. I went, I'm really curious to see what McKee thinks about the visual effects, and maybe if anybody had insight on some of how that was done, because I thought it was done really well.
I couldn't look. I know how it's done, and I've seen a lot of. I mean, there's a million ways you can do every visual effect, but I know the way Neil Blomkamp does it. The way he does it is he has someone in a suit wearing maybe stilts if they're playing the prawns in District 9 to get that height. And they've got a lot of tracking markers on to where you can get
Visual motion. It was a performer.
It was actually Charlton Copley.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
he was Chappie.
doing all the motion.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
So he's there physically on set doing that. Then what the visual effects artists have to do is erase him with. Hopefully, I would imagine they got some clean plates from shooting second unit. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So huge pain in the ass doing
Because
every shot.
But that whole scene
it's
where
phenomenally
he first
done.
wakes up and he's hiding and he's scared, the whole popping.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that's a nightmare visually effects. But it was so well done.
Yeah. Just to put into context, I don't judge a film based on how the visual effects or anything done. I appreciate it more if that's done well.
If it's well executed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this film is phenomenally done. Phenomenally done when talking about visual effects. I
thought so too. I just want to see what you thought.
I've got an extra critical eye on this stuff just because of the nature of what I do, and I couldn't pick out anything in that. And I'm sure the artist that did it could.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they're seeing. I nitpick everything that I do, and I'm saying like 1% of what I see is what everyone else sees. Yeah. So I'm sure they've got things. I think
there's a certain level to what Neil does in his work.
Neil.
No, just his own. I was reading. It's actually in regards to his next project, which is going to be an alien film.
Which I think
not the Prometheus storyline that they're going with now, but it's going to be separate. And
he's
this
ignoring
is
2 and 3 or 3 and 4.
He's ignoring 3 and 4.
Oh, thank God.
Well,
and this is in between.
Possibly.
Yeah, this is potentially in between 2 and 3.
I would hope so
With
because
Sigourney Weaver, she is on board for this.
Here's my thing: what's the point in ignoring 3 and 4? Why don't you just leave it alone? Why don't you just put it in between 2 and 3?
So is he making it 2.5?
Well, we don't know exactly. The rumor right now, the first rumor that came out was that it's a film that completely ignores everything after 2. Mm-hmm. Then he came out and made a statement saying something. I don't know exactly what he said, but either him or the production came out and said, we're trying to fit in and tell a story that hasn't been told before that will, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think anything's necessarily, set in stone.
But seeing that Chappie he's built a relationship now and a rapport with, and she was one of the people that was very adamant in getting him involved in the alien.
She was also the one that got
story.
involved in.
He said that he actually mentioned it to her, like, hey, wouldn't it be fun? And then he didn't know if there was actual content, like, is the story of Ripley done? And then apparently they had a conversation, and he's like, wow, no, the story of Ripley is not done, and we've got some good material. So
and Sigourney Weaver, I believe, was a producer on 3 and 4.
3 and 4. And she had a lot to say on, was it 3 or 4?
And
that she had
keep
a lot
it in
to say
mind,
who directed.
the directors behind 3 and 4 are Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Yeah.
That was
David
her.
Fincher.
And David Fincher.
That was
3.
So 3 was the one she had.
3
to
was
push.
Fincher.
But there's
so then 4 was her push.
I think 4 was her push a little more.
Yeah, her push, which is.
But I think she had a lot of say just even coming back for the part. I mean, I think there's like literally been multiple books written about the production of Alien 3.
I mean, there's a whole even outside of Ripley, there's a universe of.
No, I'm talking about the production of Alien 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the making of. I mean, that's. I think we've touched on that before. I mean, there's so much behind the production of Alien 3 that we're not going to cover it on one podcast.
And it's funny because I just caught Alien 1 again. It was on recently on TV, and I caught like the tail end.
Oh, if you want, I've got the Blu-rays. If you want,
I know I have them. I was flipping channels, Brandon.
You won't be able to do that in 5 minutes. Just letting you know.
Flipping down, and I happened to catch, and I just watched the tail end. It's still freaking phenomenal. That whole end. This is where she's putting the cat into the thing, and then the thing is in the ship. But going back to Chappie, you know what? I really, really was genuinely walked away from this film. I had such distrust about going to go see it, and I walked away from this film really creatively inspired by it. I really loved what they did. I loved the whole family unit that they created and what they were doing. But I have to tell you, there was I know we've seen it before and all that, but this was the first time where I felt that a robot's performance, which is all visual effects right now.
It was not a robot's performance. It was a motion capture performance.
Yes, that's my point. It was capturing. It was actually capturing. That one moment when they did the digital eye thing when he got pissed off and he went off to go, the guy who sold his dad's car. Yeah. And they did that was an actor. It didn't feel like watching.
In slightly the same way, it's the same with Avatar, where you are getting this facial capture that you've never seen, where you're getting the actress, her CGI performance, which is phenomenal. You're getting the little subtleties that you only get from a human. What's that?
No, and I'm agreeing with
the latest Planet of the Apes. They went into even finer detail.
Those are
that they actually captured the emotion, like the actual.
But
that's one of my favorite films this year. Was the Planet of the Apes.
Juan looks like he's a ref right now. We got to die.
What? Here's my argument right now to the two things you guys are saying. Not disagreeing. Planet of the Apes loved it. Avatar loved it. But I'm talking a sterile, non-movable face. Yeah. And I can see emotion by how it was being shot, how the voice was being used, and how it was being covered. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It was a mechanical. It's like this thing. It was like the little tripod. It was a mechanical thing, you know? The difference between Avatar for me, and I don't mean this in a bad way, it was cartoons in a sense. I could see the expression of the face because cartoons were being drawn. This in the Planet of the Apes, it was realistic to the point that I could see the reflection in the eyes with the monkeys. This is a computer. This is like a screen top, and I was getting emotion from the screen top.
It's the same as WALL-E. Do you remember?
WALL-E is. Well, see, I completely agree with him.
I do.
WALL-E is literally an animation, and I couldn't feel more for that character.
But there's a cutesiness to WALL-E, I guess, which is I'm not disagreeing with, and I loved WALL-E, but I just didn't walk away with the same emotional. I felt like the performance of Chappie was equal, if not better, to performances across the board on that.
I think everybody. Movie. I'd agree.
Well, it's the same reason that we fell in love with Johnny 5.
Johnny 5 was.
Did I fall in love with Johnny 5?
I think Johnny 5 was more of a personality versus a performance.
Who are you talking about?
Who's Johnny 5?
Short Circuit.
Oh, that's Johnny. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's
I didn't fall in love with Johnny 5.
Last time I saw it was when I was a kid.
There's a lot that goes.
Same here.
Can't remember.
Short Circuit 2. Short Circuit 2 holds up so well.
Wait, Short Circuit 3 is the script that I want to read. I heard man. The writer behind that.
It's my fan
huge.
Film.
Yeah.
I want to make a Short Circuit fan film. I'll go straight to
the
the top.
Power Ranger thing. Do you like your own little short circuit?
Oh, I have.
Did you see
they just never blew
the
up.
thing I sent you?
No, I meant to look at it.
No, it's Anyway,
no,
it's just behind the scenes on Power Rangers, and they do a lot of like techniques that are, that we did on Z Nation, and then ones that I would like to do in the future.
Okay, so I'll look at it.
Yeah.
No, I've saved it. I saved the link. I haven't saved, but I just
so Juan, what's your rating for Chappie?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to go with almost, if you would have asked me right when I left the theater, it would have been a 4.5.
Yeah.
And now, because I've, thought about a few things and hearing your guys' point, I'm still about a 4, 4.5. I really was pleasantly surprised by this
Yeah.
movie.
Jason?
I give it a 4. There's definitely problems with it, but as a film, I liked it a lot. It's kind of like you haven't seen Focus, Juan, but Focus is a film. No, I'm not going to ruin it for you.
Yeah,
But
you ruined every other movie for me.
Yeah. No, they have there's definitely problems with them, but I just don't care because I liked it enough to where I don't care by the point that problem would even be a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
you look past it. So I give.
Well, we go back to you and I were talking about it. It's when the characters are strong, when the storyline kind of carries you. When the storyline, here's the one thing that people don't understand: when the characters being strong, and the storyline doesn't need to be strong. The storyline needs to carry you further, moving on. Do you want to go further with it? When it does that stuff, you forgive a lot of the little flaws.
Or in the case of Focus, it's charisma between the actors.
Yeah.
There's a ton. You know, a lot of times you don't get any, and so you're reliant on whatever else they have to grasp at, which is maybe the story or whatever. But it's just a lot of fun, and you know, Chappie is definitely fun. And any
also
problems?
Sad though.
Yeah, but I like sad, so I guess I don't know. I found both of those films to be a lot of fun.
So
Tom, what's your rating for Chappie?
So my rating for Chappie, I give it a 4 as well. I'm really glad though that Neil is looking to do the next Alien film because I do feel that in a most base way, District 9, Elysium, and Chappie are the same story. They're told in different. They're told in different ways, but it's an individual who is or becomes oppressed within his.
That's the same
don't
theme.
disagree.
That's not the same story. That's a whole different thing.
It all feels
stories are the same.
to me it feels like it's the Christ character. It is the savior.
The Irish just showed up.
It is the savior character that presents themselves through a society's own.
The Wachowskis
kind of
are telling the same story over and over there.
I do.
Yeah.
It feels like it is that story told 3 different ways, but to me it feels like it is the same. Sorry, I'll say theme instead of story. The same theme 3 different times, and I understand that he's from that.
I think
that
it's,
area.
Well, that's the problem.
It looks so much the same that when I first saw the trailers for Chappie, I was a little disappointed, and I like that. Not disappointed. Disappointed is not the wrong word, but I didn't like Elysium.
Really?
I had.
Most people didn't. I really
enjoyed
did
it.
like
I
Elysium.
enjoyed Elysium as well.
I really liked the fact that that when they went for the violence, they really freaking went for it.
I really
Because that's what
enjoyed
would've
all
happened.
3 films.
Yeah.
I really did. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm giving this one a 4, 4.25, 4.5 myself. I really enjoyed it.
You just create a new rating.
I-
4.25.
I think-
I did. I really enjoyed all 3 films. I feel that they are telling the same story. And
Same theme. Don't let one point at you.
Same
I'm going to get into this.
The same theme, but I'm looking forward to hopefully within Alien seeing something completely different.
Well,
but
what if the alien becomes Christ?
if the alien becomes Christ?
I think you will. I think you will see something different because he can't shoot in South Africa.
Yeah. Well,
if he does,
that's
I'll be
in an interview on Geek Tyrant that he gave, or that was referenced on Geek Tyrant that I read. That was one of his big things. Is he after these last 3 films?
Yeah.
He feels that he can't do something in South Africa again.
I feel he can't because it's
that's
becoming
based
a
in that
thing.
area. It is.
That's yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think it works
It can-
great for what
what
he's
he's
done.
done.
And I
Right.
don't want it to become a thing.
And it's
Like,
he's excited to be working in a world that
Yeah.
is not that same area.
I'm a
which
big
he
fan
knows.
of him, and I think that
it's a new land of adventure for them.
Yeah.
And the name of the woman that we've been referencing, the female character in Chappie, is Yolanda Visser.
Oh,
She's
okay.
phenomenal. I really
She was
enjoyed
really
her.
good.
And
I
if you have not
Yeah.
listened to Diane Ward, I would highly suggest listening to more of their works. Definitely check out their music videos.
They're a band that's laughed at. You know,
Well, no.
weren't
They're a controversial band because she did a performance that people are saying she did in blackface, but that's not the case.
Really?
Is it a
No,
white thing?
they're a controversial
In
band because of a
blackface.
lot of reasons, but yeah.
So
Well, I'll give it.
what do you at?
I'm going to give it 4, but probably closer to 4.5. I mean, I really thoroughly enjoyed it for all the reasons we've talked about. So, yeah.
And one word, Bjork.
Bjork?
What about her? I mean, I see. Are you
Bjork?
talking about Diane Ward? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, the very end.
I don't know what you're
I
talking
don't
about.
know. No, what? We don't know.
Oh, no, I do. I do.
Listen,
But
all
don't
this-
go into it.
it's
Don't go
all-
into it. People watch the film and you'll
Just
get it.
watch the music video, All Is Full of Love, and then watch Chappie. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
And then,
So-
Brandon, did you see the movie? No.
we won't say anymore. So,
No, my honestly, my favorite Neil Blomkamp film is still District 9.
Yeah.
That actually threw me for a loop. The way the story progressed.
Yeah.
But God, that's the thing is this is a director that is immensely talented,
Yeah.
and to get a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes
Yeah.
is freaking ridiculous. So you're being judged at a different level.
Right.
Fine, but it's just that I hope that everyone knows that you're being judged.
Yeah, I
Good.
agree.
If
It-
I'm
it
being
does
judged
not-
at a different level, it means I've reached a different plane. Of,
Yeah,
No,
it
that
does
is
not
among
deserve a
us,
30%.
among us.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see over the next couple of weeks what it does rate on Rotten Tomatoes.
oh, it's already been out for 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to stay there.
It's
Well,
good.
no,
It's-
because-
I think it'll be a
because
film
Rot-
that sticks. So,
because Rotten
you know.
Tomato, it doesn't. It initially factors, or initially it's based upon the
It's based on critics.
critics' reviews, and then after
and then,
the film
it's
comes
followed up
out,
by the
No,
audience.
then the
no.
audience-
I saw it was 30%, and then it was like, it was pretty
It's
weak. It was
31%,
like,
but the audience scores 65.
yeah,
yeah,
So that's
Which-
going to stick. That's out of 157
which is
reviews.
still
It's not
fairly
gonna-
weak, but
Right.
not 30%.
No,
but it's still
not
weak.
deserving of that at all.
But still weak.
So I have to do this. I have to come
Okay.
back at you with the whole story thing. In storytelling, be it literature,
Mhm.
be it a film,
sure,
be it television, be it a play,
Mhm.
there are seven basic.
7 or 10.
Well, the argument's always been there's 7 basic themes for years, and then they added kind of 2 like
Right.
later on, right? Once we started getting artificial intelligence involved.
Mhm.
But the point is being you've got 7 themes. So just because this director has grasped onto one theme,
Mhm.
you can't tell me that that theme is being presented the same way in all 3 of his projects. And that's the storytelling part where I argue is you can take a theme and be exactly the same thing, but the way it's being presented, you're getting a new story out of it. And I think if you do Chappie to District 9, you can't tell me it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing, but it's not the same story.
I just to me,
I want to know how you compare Elysium to District 9, or I don't know. I don't see him even.
I mean,
coming close to the
I
same.
see
you have
the-
you have an oppressed
story
character.
and theme. We're talking 2 different things.
Yes.
So the theme is the theme. Let's just call it for conversation's sake the Jesus Christ theme. All right. Let's just say even though that's
Is
not
Matt
one of
Damon Jesus Christ?
Yeah. Even though that's not one of the.
I'm just
themes.
talking about in general.
He's the
That's not
one.
of the,
Yeah.
not one of the traditional themes. All right. But let's just call it for conversation's
It's
sake.
what the Wachowskis are doing.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
the one.
It's
In
the-
every,
it's the one.
in every
mankind.
single film, our
okay.
main character is the one.
Is
They are
one.
the people.
But you're
they
gonna
are
tell
the
me that
individual.
the storyline,
Mhm.
not the theme, is the same between.
But he
Elysium
did say
and
the theme. No, he said the theme.
No.
He said the
not
theme
the-
after being corrected.
After I pounded him.
No. You started asking him
What
after.
are you defending, Tom? Now?
Yes, he said the theme. He did say the theme.
Okay, go ahead. All right,
He-
go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's, you have an oppressed individual, someone that is of a minority, that is being considered a lesser character.
Who's
to
the minority in
Juan
District
is.
9?
In
Oh,
District 9?
sorry. I
The
thought you
main-
meant
yeah,
in the room.
Isn't the
No,
main?
in the
the
room,
MNUs.
I'm always the
Yeah, but
minority
I'm
in
just
the
saying.
room. Are we talking about me now?
Yeah.
In District 9, the MNUs.
But they're
the
not. But
aliens.
he's not the main character.
No, he's not.
That's true.
I know, but you're
Okay,
saying in
yes,
general.
yes. In general, but what happens is the main character, played by Charlton Copley, is infected by the and becomes part of the minority, and he is seen as a second-class citizen because he has become infected by this disease that is the minority.
Yeah.
And so he is placed into that class of the minority. And in
Thanks,
Elysium,
Obama.
no,
How's
no,
that
no.
Obama's fault.
It's always Obama's
Elysium,
fault.
in Elysium, again, we see an individual that is a second-class citizen. He is someone that is not of the leading, the ruling class. And this is all deeply rooted in South American politics.
You know, if I title this episode,
but you still the storylines they're not parallel storylines. You don't have the cookie pattern storyline parallel to give you that same.
Do we not?
No, you do
No,
not.
not at all.
Not at all.
if
I
I title this
completely agree.
episode, it's always Obama's fault. We might get more.
So in every case,
No, just
Okay, no.
in
thanks,
every
Obama.
in every case, the main character is someone that was a tool of the ruling class that was then, in some way, shape, or form, brought down to being considered along the lower living class, and then it's their fight and struggle.
Elysium is the Matt Damon. Is he?
No,
man,
he was
no,
never-
you got-
he's
you got-
never part of
You
the
definitely
elite.
have a point with the first and the latter.
Yeah.
But I don't. Elysium,
So in-
I don't know if he was necessarily the ruling class. He was a
No.
No,
pastor.
he wasn't a member of the ruling class,
Okay.
but he was a tool of the ruling class.
How? In what way?
I
You don't
honestly,
know.
I do need to rewatch it,
Okay.
but he had some sort of position that he held that then something happened and he was knocked down.
On Tom,
Okay.
for your thesis, I'm giving you a please see me after class.
Yeah.
No, and I guess,
No.
Tom, not to pick on you, but I mean, I guess
No,
my
I
point
think
would be. If
I think
you
I'm
like
just
Blake-
interested in
It
what.
is,
funny.
no, I'm totally in. But if you would line up the stories like, scene per scene, you don't have a scenario where it's like, okay, this is like, we were complaining about that with the last.
Twilight? Twilight film?
Twilight film. No,
Yeah.
the Matrix Boys' last film.
But they're not boys.
Oh, you're talking Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah. Wherever they are now.
The Wachowski siblings.
Yes.
Yes.
You guys were talking about the fact, not having seen the film, you guys were talking about the fact how you could literally line it up and it would match up to a lot of the Matrix.
Oh man, I think they are so much closer to telling the exact same story than Neil Blomkamp has ever dreamed of.
Yeah,
being.
that's what I'm saying. If you took all three of those movies that we're talking about for the director, yes, the theme is very, very, very thick and very heavy, and it's there, and it's there. I'm not disagreeing with that. But if you line up the scenes, no, it's not the same story. That's my only argument.
But okay, so we're picking on possibly Neil Blomkamp and definitely the Wachowski siblings, but can they really be blamed? That's an easy sell. You need the one that it's a tried and true.
Oh, you mean to get it done?
Yes.
The hero.
You're
Sure,
selling a movie for $100
sure.
million. Who wouldn't just go? Okay, yeah, this is a.
I wouldn't. Even that's why I haven't been able to sell a movie yet.
no. Subtle, you don't even know it. You don't even realize that you're doing it. But you go, okay, this is what we did last time. Okay, hey, this is a cool idea, and it's essentially the same thing. And you sell it again.
I
You
understand what
think?
you're saying.
Do you think they're smart enough to know that they're doing the exact same thing?
I purposely, and the stuff that I try to do as a director and sometimes as a writer, I purposely go, okay, I've done this.
Try to do something.
I go completely the opposite side of the coin.
Same. I mean, same here.
I know it's not the same, but the last two theater pieces that I directed, I did two pieces, two LaBute pieces were very, very simple sets. Basically actors performing.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was it. There was nothing. No, there was lights up, lights down, and we were done. Right.
Well, it's kinda-
and then I jumped over and did Creeps, and I'm like, I threw everything but the kitchen sink at Creeps.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I purposely wanted to go a different direction with that.
Well, same with me. I do something that I felt was, when it's done, I felt, okay, this is, I like the way it's written, but the way I did it was maybe style over substance. So here I'll write something that gives the actors, it's me taking a back seat and it's the actors to do, and then it ends up having still a lot of style in certain ways, and then I keep trying to give more. I keep trying to give the actors more, and I hope that is the case. but it's
Well,
still
if you continue, you could. That's what you're hoping.
it's like it's impossible to not interject yourself into something.
And that wasn't coming. I wasn't trying to pick on you, Tom.
Absolutely.
But to me, that's the 2 points that I'm really critical about because there's only a handful of themes. I don't give a shit what storyline you come up with. But how do we tell that theme in a new spin, in a new way that it feels fresh?
Yeah.
And to me, as opposed to and again, not having seen it, we're talking about The Matrix and then that other movie.
You haven't seen The Matrix?
No, I've seen them. I've seen those.
Jupiter.
In Jupiter, you guys basically came across and like, Jesus
Don't
Christ,
bother.
it
Do
was the
not
same
bother.
freaking thing all over again. You having seen all 3 of his films, they're not the same thing. Even though the theme is repetitive, I don't feel I saw the same movie.
Yeah.
Wait, you haven't seen all 3 of his films? Whose films?
I have.
No,
I have
you,
seen.
Oh, you have.
I haven't seen Jupiter. That's the only thing I haven't seen.
No.
Don't bother. That one's honestly like the only thing good about it is the visual effects.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and
So,
Was this something else we were supposed to review?
well, we were going to talk about Focus. You did not see it,
No.
but I think the other 3 of us saw it.
Oh, fine.
It's-
I'll leave the room.
I think no.
Because I don't want to hear it.
No.
we can do it without.
Again, it's not
Without-
it's not a film that I think you can spoil. There's not one big spoiler. There is
There is a big spoiler
in
at
the
the end.
Does he do her?
Yeah, he
He
does.
doesn't.
Okay,
care,
I'm not
yeah.
watching the movie.
Yeah.
What? Why are you not watching the film now?
I don't want
You gotta watch the film now.
But there's things you can spoil, but it's not like there's this earth-shattering
No.
spoilers because this is a film with several twists and turns. You have to spoil them turn by turn, and you have to explain a lot in order to like describe what happens in the final
So
scene.
is this like an Ocean 7 Sting kind
Very
of a movie?
much so. It's
Yeah.
very much like it's a con artist film, and it's very much just a film that's like sometimes they can be very convoluted. This is just a lot of fun, and you don't care.
I think
Honestly, it got me a few times where I thought, "Wow, this is really we're looking at the
There's-
deep side of this character, the
Yeah.
dark side of this character,"
Yeah.
and then you
the
got
gambling
me.
scene.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I don't want to ruin it.
Well, no, it's not a
It's
spoiler,
fine.
but no.
I can't
Okay,
say
so
the
there's a
movie.
gambling scene. in it.
I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
But there is where you think you think you're seeing one thing
Yeah.
and you're seeing another.
Yeah.
You know, and that happens throughout.
So,
I don't know if that's necessarily going to ruin it for you.
It won't,
yeah, but
no.
no, my question to you guys, like, I love the con movies, and there's 2 in particular which I've always been a huge fan of.
Which one? The
And
Sting?
The Sting is brilliant. I don't care what anybody tells me; it's always going to be brilliant.
Okay, here's
Okay,
the thing.
I-
My
like I
no,
said,
no,
I
no,
don't care
no.
what
I'm
you tell me.
curious. I find that one a little on the convoluted side.
It's very clear.
Is it?
It's totally clear. It
See, I find a lot of movies
I was
that-
a teenager when I saw that, and it was clear to me as about what was going on. We're done. The other one is it's a Cusack film, Grifters.
It's The Grifters.
Good. Oh,
With Annette Bening.
yes. Those
Stephen
2
Frears.
Yeah, those 2 movies to me are like the epitome of like the con movies that I love because it's that balance of it's slightly getting to a point where like wait, I gotta really pay attention or I'm gonna lose it,
Yeah.
and also at the same time it's some great character stuff.
Yeah.
Have you seen Confidence?
Oh, which one's that?
James
Sounds-
Foley film with Dennis Hoffman
Oh,
No, I haven't seen this.
and Ed. What's his name? Ed.
I
He
haven't seen
did the Brothers McMullen. He's the director.
Oh,
actor.
Ed Burns.
Ed Burns.
Yeah.
He's in that. So
Oh.
Confidence is a fun film. He's that guy. James Foley is also a director of a lot of episodes on House of Cards.
Ah.
But
Did you guys notice that?
Oceans.
We didn't talk about that. Did anybody notice? Well, you haven't
I
seen
haven't
enough.
seen
Enough.
I'll
Robin
close my
Wright
eyes.
directed pretty much.
she
pretty
did.
much
No,
directs-
you've seen it.
She directs like at
She
least
didn't-
half the season.
Who does?
No, she
Sorry.
didn't.
She's got
No.
4. She's
No,
got 4
she
in
did
there.
not. She
She's got 4 to
directed
3.
1 in season 3, and I think
No,
2 in
this-
season 1.
No, this
Or
season
2,
she's
I
got
mean.
more than 2. She's got more than 1.
She might have 2 tops, but
I
she
was gonna
has.
say she got. Right, let's check it.
No, I look because I do. I'm like one of the only
She-
people that care who directs TV.
I think she has more because
Like-
I actually was pretty impressed by the idea. But
But she did awesome, and it wasn't necessarily like an episode that was her character, you know, because a lot of times they'll give that character the one to direct, or
Well, she's smart enough. How the hell would
Which
you want to?
episodes
How would
did
you?
she direct?
How would you?
I didn't notice.
She directed the last one.
Okay.
no, she did not.
Yes,
James Foley directed the last
All
one.
right, I'm gonna look it up right
It
now.
says she direct. Oh, right.
She
never
directed
Go ahead,
the
go ahead.
second from last one,
Go ahead.
and James Foley directed the absolute last one.
mind. It says
of
she
season-
directed 3 episodes total.
not of this
Two,
season.
two
One,
from this
3 is not
season,
half.
1 from the.
See, that's what I'm
previous
saying.
season.
I
Damn
said
it.
a tops 2 from this season, and definitely from season 2.
Which two did she do this
Uh,
season?
38 and 35. So I don't
38 is the last one.
No, it's not.
I think 39 is the last.
Is
one.
there a,
James
is it-
Foley from Confidence. I'm surprised you haven't seen it. It was a fairly well
No,
known.
I didn't see it.
You know Rusty Schwimmer?
Yeah.
She's in Confidence.
Ah, okay.
She,
I gotta
she's
take
an
a look at it.
she's an
I gotta take a look
actress
at
that we worked
Well-
on
Well, and going back
Mozart and
to
Oil.
Focus, it's another film where I think the critics have not been kind to it, and
it. Have they really?
And I think what I had heard going into it is that the film's really fun and it falls apart at the end, and I never felt that at all.
Look, it becomes it's over the top at the end. I don't think you can really argue that, but I don't care.
I never found it over the top because I think anything that they did was what there was kind of a natural flow to everything that happened. I think it's very easy for a critic to watch the to get to the final moments and say, oh, that's dumb. I can see why that's easy to critique, but within that universe of the film, I think it worked out really well.
I definitely can say it got more of a jump and a rise out of me than 99% of every horror
Yeah.
film that's ever
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
I
I
heard
wasn't.
you squeal in the theater. You're like,
You weren't even. You weren't
We were
even
holding
there.
hands. We were holding hands. No, I was at home and I heard him squeal.
Yeah, we were holding hands during Jupiter Ascending, though.
Yeah. But I
Because
would
you're
say
bored?
Yeah.
Wait, that was your hand he was
I-
holding?
No, I'm not joking. I was actually really bored during Jupiter Ascending, which
Yeah.
is crazy for a huge,
yeah.
epic action sci-fi film.
This is the first film, Focus. This is the first film in a long time that actually had me like having an anxiety problem in a
What?
couple of the scenes where like I mean it wasn't like a real health problem, but like
You
it
should
was
see a
so
doctor.
intense. Yeah, exactly. And then I just pass out on the
Yeah.
podcast. There's a scene that
The
was
sex
so
scenes
intense.
that he's talking about?
no.
What
no.
scene are you talking about?
The gambling scene.
Okay, all right.
That scene was so intense. I really wanted to stand up
It
and
was.
pace back and forth.
What an awesome towards the end of that scene, the realization that you find.
Not even the realization, just
What
the
an
tension.
awesome-
The
No,
tension
I'm saying
building
what an
in this
awesome,
gambling
like-
scene.
What an awesome real moment
Yeah.
when she's looking on the field through the binoculars.
Yeah,
that you're just like, oh my gosh.
There, even before that, the tension built up in this scene, and this doesn't spoil anything, but there's a moment in the film where you realize where they say Will Smith has a gambling problem, and then he's put into a situation where he starts gambling with this guy.
Yeah.
and it builds and it builds, and I wanted to stand up and like I needed to just like move because
You
I
were
was
that anxious?
I was very anxious. Not since like what was it?
Not since Hillary Duff came to his
No.
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
like no. When
And
I
he
watch,
couldn't-
I
and
get
he
this
couldn't
way.
perform.
I get this way when I watch hockey because if it's a close game in hockey,
Why do you watch hockey?
I have to because
He does
just
look
'cause-
Canadian.
Wait, are you?
Come
you
on.
A hockey
no,
fan?
I am a hockey fan.
Why?
I have
Because of
to.
your time in Canada?
I liked hockey before. I liked hockey in junior high and that.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah?
Why?
Did you
Why?
play it?
You
It's fun. Yeah,
son of a...
kind of.
Why? No,
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
like
care.
when I watch hockey games, there's a lot of times I have to get up and leave the room because it gets so.
Because
intense.
you have to put a binder in front of your
I
crotch
just have to
and
grab
just-
a pillow and
Yeah.
walk out of the
So,
room.
Sean, just how long did you live in Canada?
So, too long, some would say. Yeah.
But you never used the A.
Yeah. There's no, so I love the film and I've recommended it to several people. I'm actually probably going to go see it again in a couple of days. I've liked it that much.
Which
Oh,
one?
really?
Focus.
I liked it a lot. I'm not going to see it in the
Will
next
you
few
hold my hand
days.
if we
but
go see it
I
together?
no, we should go. Yeah.
That's not all he's going to hold.
Yeah. So Tom,
would know.
what did
Yeah. but Why did you look
I
at my crotch when you said that?
Wait, we are
You would
reviewing
know.
Yeah. I should say again, the other thing I was really interested going into this film, I've always enjoyed Will Smith's performances, but Margot Robbie, I was
Hard to go wrong with Margot Robbie.
No, but I was gonna say I was worried that she was like gonna be kind of a one-hit wonder.
Oh man, no.
I-
She's
I- no.
around to stay.
I
Yeah.
and I
we
agree.
hope so.
But her
It's
in Wolf of Wall
obviously she's
Street-
beautiful, but there's a charisma.
No, it's just charisma. That's what I
Yeah.
meant by hopeful.
But-
I mean,
Oh
the
man,
level that
yeah,
she-
right. That's what you meant.
but
I'm not looking at your crotch now.
yeah,
so.
okay, all right, you got a point.
and I love Wolf of Wall Street, but her performance in that, I'm not going to say it's weak, but I'm going to say it's very. There were times where I
Well,
felt
she wasn't given as much to do in Wolf.
exact.
of
No,
Wall Street.
no.
Well,
So I
think
wanted to
that's
see
a
her
bad
really.
script to look at. For
Wait,
her.
with a bad script?
No, for her as a
For her, yeah.
character. As a
There's
character.
just she's a side character. She's another
She's-
character where she's a
she's-
lead in focus.
She's also playing a very. I mean, I don't know the right word, but it's a very kind of cliche character in Wolf of Wall Street.
The directors and writers of Focus, I've really they did Crazy Stupid Love, which
Yeah.
I think ends on a fairly
yes, yeah.
a fairly ordinary path, but I thought was a really like fun, good film.
Yeah.
You know, but what
I'm saying is I'm glad she came out and really impressed me just with acting and just showing that she can hold her own against Will Smith.
There's no holding back in her performance against an obvious industry leading man, which is Will Smith. Also, another thing, I'm glad to see Will Smith back
Yeah.
in a film that shows Will
He can
Smith.
relax. That he can relax.
He does a
Well,
great job. He's never.
Here's the thing, though. It got crappy reviews. So people, and it's getting 60% by the people. So people are not agreeing with me. But I'm glad. Like, I've always liked Will Smith.
Yeah.
And I think most people do.
Yeah.
But-
I think the only time I haven't liked, I've always liked him in films, but there's been films he's been in that I didn't like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't
like
like
Wild Wild West. Is
Oh,
the one that always comes
that
up.
was off.
But
Wild West.
But Wild Wild West, he brings 100% to his role. You
Yeah.
know, he
he's
commits
committed to a role, and so was
He's always committed.
Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
But it was just a bad movie. That was
He's
a bad
always
movie.
committed to the role.
Yeah.
It's just, he gave that up
Dude,
to
my
do
favorite- my
he
favorite
gave
is
the
the-
Matrix up to do that.
My favorite is the Independence thing where he's dragging the freaking thing through the desert.
It used to be my computer sound where he says, "And what the hell is that smell?"
Yeah.
every time I got an instant message.
See,
it
and
would
for
say
me,
that.
it was always from the Holy Grail, Monty Python. It's when I'd close down, it'd be like it was the Black Knight going, "Oh, running away!" Yeah. No, it's Will Smith. I hope for everyone's sake that he makes a full comeback because After Earth was atrocious.
yeah.
And I've always been a Will Smith supporter and unfortunately a M. Night
Jaden
Shyamalan.
Smith supporter.
No, not Jaden Smith. But M. Night Shyamalan supporter up
Yeah.
until I started to go away. I was one of the last kind of like defenders of him up until the Happening, and I still was like very lukewarm at best on the Happening.
The
So you're
Happening's
saying
hard to
You're not
hard to
sticking
defend.
through for the Airbender.
No, Airbender is worse, but like Warhorse for Spielberg, which is unforgivable.
To me, Airbender was like a paycheck.
Oh my!
Yeah.
But it wasn't the pay. I don't know. Was it? Do you think it
did
was
he get a
honestly a
paycheck?
paycheck?
I mean,
I'm sure.
hope not.
I think for him it was
Frank
a chance.
Marshall directed or produced the thing.
I think for Shyamalan it was a chance to have a hit again. Now whether or not it was a pick, because he wrote
And
it.
it was a miss.
No, it was,
And
but
strike three.
he didn't have to write it, and he wrote the film.
Right.
So that was his. I think in his mind he was going to knock it out of the park with the help of an established franchise, and it didn't work out.
but it wasn't established. They were starting a new one. Are you talking? I mean,
No, Airbender.
Airbender.
but as a
Airbender
movie,
for
no.
Nicole
As
no,
a,
but I'm saying
as a movie, it was not an
No,
established.
no, but I'm
which
saying
is
as
completely
an
different than a.
It would-
TV.
not an
it-
established movie
yeah.
franchise, but as an established. Airbender was the #1 kids cartoon for the last.
But
3
it was a
years.
cartoon, completely
No, it was-
different deal.
There was an old friend of mine.
But I'm saying he's getting the boost of a franchise.
Right,
If it had been original film, it wouldn't have that boost. He's getting a boost.
There's
from
an
it.
old friend of mine who was in development, and her name's Kane Beatty. She's passed away, but she and I talked a lot about him,
Uh-huh.
and she really felt as a development person that he was strongest when he had a strong producer next to him.
Yeah.
Because
But
he
here's the
loses,
thing.
he loses focus.
But Frank
Here's the thing,
Marshall-
though. Frank Marshall is a strong producer.
How
and he was
much do we think that you think he was actually
Well,
there?
we don't
You're
know,
talking
but
about.
it's
I don't know. We're always going to be guessing, but Frank Marshall is an established director and producer first. I see him as a producer first.
And-
Yes, he directed Alive, and I believe he directed Arachnophobia, didn't he?
oh, who Frank Marshall?
Frank Marshall.
But
But he's always been a producer first. He's been with Kathleen Kennedy
Yeah.
and produced some Spielberg stuff, I believe.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
But again, his strength. If he's with Kathleen Kennedy is a really strong producer.
But Kathleen Kennedy, no, but go back. What did Kathleen Kennedy start as? She was a producer's. She was a director and producer's assistant.
No, I got a better story for you. Kathleen
Okay.
Kennedy's from San Diego State University, and that was the story we got when we went to school there. She graduated before I got there, and she literally walked up into Spielberg's office and said, "I will work for you for free for 1 year as your personal assistant. I will do whatever you need for 1 year
Yeah.
for free."
she wrangled the Goonies.
And from that he fell in love with what the kind of work she was doing and all that, and she became his right hand.
Well, see
And that was the story that we were constantly shared at our school.
Yeah,
As
okay.
kind of a the
I
motivational.
mean, that's a glorified story, and that's probably
not glorified.
But I'm saying that's probably true. But that's a story that shows the
commitment
passion.
level, the commitment level and passion.
That's what it freaking takes to actually make it in this business. All of us know as well as anyone that if you're actually going to succeed in this business, even in the slightest, you're either going to be in it or out of it.
Right.
With the first movie, probably within the first week or the first few days, you're going to know, like, is this something that I'm really going to do or not? Mm-hmm. And if she's willing to put down an entire year and actually stick with it, not just have it just be a talking
as
point,
a freebie.
but do it as a freebie
Right.
and actually commit to it, then obviously she's serious about it.
And I'm guessing if she was
Well,
she
I
was
can say
any
what-
good,
I-
he
I
probably
know-
started paying her.
That's
Like,
what he
once
did.
that
That's
was
what he
apparent.
did.
Yeah.
I didn't
I mean,
realize
I know
Marshall
for-
did sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for myself, there's nothing I could
And Sixth
do.
Sense. And Sixth
Yeah,
Sense.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's nothing I personally could do other than this. So it's a blessing and a curse because the
So
odds
you're
are
pole dancing.
no,
David
I'm
Dunn.
saying the odds are against all of us in this business. If we want to actually be what we want to be,
Not against Juan. With
no,
that
no.
No, I agree. It's
The
bullshit.
odds are against every single one of us being what we want to be in this business.
No, we're going to be the guys wheeling in, telling Brandon he's got to get an elevator in so we can wheel in our wheelchairs to do our podcast.
But the only way we're ever gonna actually be what we want to be is if we just freaking stick to it.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
Totally not- no.
and here's the thing too. I strongly believe is that I think that you can actually. I think that I don't know how to really word this. I think that there's the discussion like, can you ever be a truly great artist or painter? Are you going to be a Leonardo da Vinci? I think that
Well, not
I think
after
part
you're
of it.
dead.
I think part of it has to be you have to be born with it.
Yeah.
But
No,
no.
I can't argue that, but go on.
But there's also a bigger part that is just even with every one of them, they earn it and they work towards it.
Yeah.
Yes, some part, maybe that little extra something
Sure.
is what makes them the Leonardo da
5%,
Vinci.
The 5%.
But that 95% of them is what gets them to great, but maybe not one of the greatest.
No,
but you are
But
great.
you said it earlier in past episodes. You said it in the last episode. It's the level of commitment. It's that commitment.
gotta
to,
want
this. Is I want this. This is the only thing I'm going to do, and that's it. Committing to
Look,
it.
I find it annoying all the time that I have to be in this business. But I have to be. There's nothing else I could do. I mean, what else am I going to do personally?
I personally couldn't do it.
I can't.
I just sat down, I calculated, I went, I can McDonald's.
But you're talking calculator. You're talking money. You
I'm
can
not
make
talking
money in it.
No, I'm not talking money. I'm talking.
What else can he do?
What I put on my resume. It's like, and they'll go, well, what does this mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean you wrangled 100 people? A crew of 400 plus. Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah, McDonald's only has like 15 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's on a busy Sunday.
When people ask you, well, what did you do on the show? It's kind of like, what didn't I do?
Right.
But you got to be able to sell yourself
10 to
on that.
15-minute discussion on.
They don't know what.
No, we're saying non-industry
right.
people.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. They don't know what if you say whatever you were.
Yeah.
And you just describe that. That would mean something to us, but you got to actually describe what you did.
But that comes down to every scale of projects. I think I was telling someone beforehand, I was working on a project recently, a documentary short, and there's a talent to interviewing people. Mm-hmm. And I was in a situation where they had a third party doing the interviews, and it doesn't work because that person doesn't have this experience. And you can't tell that person, no, I have
You're
experience.
doing it wrong.
Everybody.
It's practice, though. It's practice.
Yeah,
but you and I have done these together, so it's a level of practice.
Are you talking interviewing someone else, or
Yeah.
or you interviewing?
No. Basically, yeah, he's shooting the interview, but what
So,
happened?
okay, so then I see
wasn't
it.
doing the questions.
Yeah,
it was a
so-
third party.
So I see
what
it
I'm
no
trying to-
different as casting.
But
I feel 95% of directing is casting.
Yeah. But
Now
you've said this
I
before.
agree
Let me
with
just
100%.
finish this thought real quick. What I'm trying to say is similar to what you've said in the past. Everyone thinks they can do it until they do it. So I was in a situation where these people were like, "Well, I'm an interviewer. I can interview someone," and they couldn't because what the interview was it was someone coming up to someone and saying, "I'll just make up a scenario," but they'd say, "So, sir, tell me, you've been in the NFL for the last 17 years, and you started as this and such and such, and you worked for this team. Is that correct?" And the person's answer is yes. And then the next question was, so tell me, then you started this business, and this business has been really successful, and you were a Fortune 500 company. And the answer is yes.
Unfortunately, that's a really easy fix. All you got to do is tell them, please, please answer this.
No.
Yeah.
And I disagree because
that's not what
you want to turn the interview that the questions in such a way.
I'm saying at the very minimum.
Yeah.
No,
it's
but
an easy fix.
You can then get sound bites. You don't want. This was a situation where we didn't need sound bites. We didn't want to wrap up the interview with someone saying, "Oh, so before we leave, can you say I'm with such and such company and I think we're the best?" You can't do that. That's not what we wanted. But I was just going back to trying to bridge between what you've said in the past and what Juan was just saying. How do you describe what we do? It's very hard, and it's very hard to qualify what we do as being a commodity or being an asset. There's so many people out there, and we've talked about it before, whether it's been on the podcast or other times. There's so many people who will say, "I need a commercial done for my real estate company. My 17-year-old nephew has a camera, and he has a YouTube channel, so he's gonna make this commercial for me."
I mean, completely honestly, you were talking about how to define what we do in like a soundbite. I honestly, if you're talking about, I'm not talking about how the logistics of how to do it, but I felt like I knew before I'd even done it how to do what we do.
Do you know where that comes from, though?
I don't know where it comes
It comes from the fact that you've been watching and studying films forever.
That's okay. So that makes sense.
That's where it comes from.
Like if you're talking from producing music, I don't know what that
No.
I can equate it to what I do,
when we started doing a lot more interview stuff and a lot more Kickstarter campaign things, and Sean and I worked together on that.
Natural.
Well, I went back and started watching other people's stuff and started saying, okay, I see how this works. It's going back and studying it.
Yeah.
That's the fact of it.
I mean,
I think the best way to close this up, though, is and I have to give you 100% credit. You, meaning Jason McKee, is that because of technology being so accessible to everybody, there's a simplicity aspect that what we do is very simple to put together and very easy to do. And they don't understand that there's everything, all the nuances that come to it. And you explain it the best, and I love that. And I will continue ripping you off and using it. It's the fact that you take someone who doesn't know how to play guitar, give them the guitar, and go, okay, play it. Let's see you do it. Sure, they're gonna get 1 or 2 notes, but they're not gonna play the guitar.
No, it's just equating it to music.
Right. No, I love that.
And it's I think it's I couldn't explain it, which was I felt like I knew, and that's not from an arrogant standpoint. It just makes more sense to me what directing or filmmaking means than any other thing. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm not saying anyone's good at it.
I think you're pretty good at it.
But I mean,
filmmaking.
You know what I mean, though. It's just, it feels more natural to me. Like, if you were to go to someone who's never given a thought about filmmaking and go, all right, direct this, what are they going to do? They're going to stumble around, and they may end up with a film, but it's not. I'm sure
the bar where it lands is not going to be.
But I'm sure their recollection of the events is not going to be as easygoing as someone who actually cares. Has spent their life wanting to do it.
All right, I'm going to get on a soapbox for like 30 seconds, and we should start wrapping this thing up.
We're going to
time. But it is this. This is a pet peeve, and I guess it's just because of what's happening to me the last 2 weeks and the kind of meetings that I've had. I am tired. No one's going to pick up a guitar and claim themselves a musician and never practiced, never had a lesson, never really actually worked at it. No one's going to go claim to be a doctor and a surgeon without actually gone to school.
Except for Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can.
Love that film.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
love
good
that one.
film, yeah.
But you know what? In that film, as an example, he did homework. He studied what he was going to claim to be and knew what he's talking about. My point being is...
And he had the passion to do so.
Passion to do so. And my point being is, it's so easy for people to go, oh yeah, I'm a director. I've got like 2 little projects I've done. It's like, no, dude, you're just starting. And I don't want to tell them not to do it, but at the same time, I don't want them walking around going, oh, well, I'm a cinematographer, director, and I can also write.
Another thing, too, is like, anyone who's calling themselves...
Costume design.
Anyone who's calling themselves any of those is clearly probably green.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of an arrogant thing to do. I don't even like calling myself a filmmaker. It sounds like a douchey thing.
It's just because the way it comes out of your mouth.
I just don't like it.
With your mullet, with your Hugh Jackman mullet.
I just hate it. I hate referring to myself as filmmaker, even though we make films.
Yeah.
The literal term makes sense, but I hate that.
Don't make films anymore. We make video.
Yeah. Oh, that's even worse. But
we're HD image capturists.
Oh, I like that one.
See, you like that?
I actually like that one.
Yeah.
HD capture.
But no, it's
image capture.
It's the passion behind it, and it's caring about it, and
No, agree.
So what would you give Focus? We'll let these guys see it, and we'll talk about it again.
Oh, Tom hasn't seen it yet?
Which?
Focus?
Oh, I saw Focus.
Oh, you saw it? Oh, okay. Sorry. What'd you think of it?
I enjoyed it.
Okay, we're wrapping it up. Thank you very much tonight.
Netflix.
See, I opened my mouth.
Yeah.
No, I went to it this weekend. I watched it. I enjoyed the performances, but I thought it was just very predictable.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
What would you give it? How many stars would you give it?
I would give it a 3.
Really?
I mean, I did not have any surprise in this film. It was
none
Let's
whatsoever.
not get into it. It's late.
We've already been. Where we were discussing this.
I would say for my star rating, honestly, as I was walking out, I would have given it a 5. I loved it so much. I think now that I know I'm going to go see it again, and I think just kind of thinking about it, I think it's probably 4.5. But I mean, I loved it. I recommend it to anybody out there who's looking for something. We always complain about everything's just really loud action films or mindless films. This film, some people might not think it's the best film ever, but it's a lot different from what's out there right now. and it's definitely worth going to see.
God, something fresh.
I don't think.
yeah.
I definitely don't think it's the best film ever, and I know Dan Webster is going to think we're too easy on this
Too
film.
easy.
But I think it's a 4.
Yeah.
I give it a 4.
Wow.
I find it a lot
Is
of.
that a 4?
I found it a lot of fun. It was
Yeah.
just a lot of fun. Sure, there's problems with it, but honestly, it was the type of film where I didn't care what problems it had with it because it was enough fun that I just didn't care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the performances, but
And I
it
was definitely surprised.
It did not surprise me.
Even in the middle, in the gambling scene, nothing surprised. No?
Yeah.
I was...
It felt a little too heavy-handed when they mentioned right before we
Heavy-handed.
go to that scene that
So-
whatever you do, don't go gambling with this money.
Well, yeah, but
That's it.
yeah.
I can't see the movie now. Thank you
No,
very
you'll
much.
be all right.
You-
Just give it a few weeks. You'll be all right.
Okay,
Ah,
so
forget?
Yeah.
so it's Juan's turn to pick a Netflix. So Juan's got to
Please
tell
don't
us.
let
stop.
it be
No,
another film like was on mine last time.
Oh,
That was
no.
pretty bad.
No. Ready and stop.
It is. Oh, it came up as Twilight Zone. So we
Oh.
got to try again. Hold on.
No TV shows.
And
We're
stop.
doing enough of those.
Let's see.
Where are you on?
Battle. Hold on. Battle for Haditha.
Battle for Haditha? What is that?
It is
I've heard
True
of it.
Events of Iraq. Hold on.
Nah.
Juan,
Go ahead.
no, sorry.
No,
Well,
is
let
that-
me read it, Juan. Unless you're gonna read it.
No, I was looking.
Juan's just looking at the pictures.
Battle-
True events in Iraq inspire this drama about a roadside bombing and the subsequent revenge killing of 24 Iraqis by a U.S.
Oh,
Marine.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Battle
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
Bridge of Terabithia.
So you know what's interesting is we haven't. We should watch this, and we haven't really talked about American Sniper. So it'd be good to maybe talk about
the
both.
two together.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
All right.
What do we
Cool.
need to... What are we watching?
We're watching
It's
the
a-
Battle of Hadithia, and we're going to marry that to American Sniper.
Oh my gosh.
I
I thought we were... American Sniper is like so 2014.
Anyway, so yeah.
So 2014.
Yeah. So, we definitely want to make sure everybody knows March 27th coming up next week by the time you're hearing this.
Slam, baby, slam.
And you can check out the Slams Facebook page, probably for the most up-to-date information. But the kickoff will be at KSPS at 7 o'clock on the 27th.
I believe it's doors open at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Yes.
Yeah.
7 o'clock is the kickoff.
It's the
Yeah.
kickoff. And again, it's a reminder for people just one more time. That you go out there, you try this, you get it started, and there's teams that fall apart and some teams that don't complete, some teams that show. If you get a completed project, we're still one of the few, or the only organization that I know that even past a deadline, we're willing to accept your project as long as the criteria is completed, and then it participates still in a viral vote, and you still get to participate in the last of our 3 awards available. I also want to bring up the folks that as Bees and Honey Drown at Ignite Theater, March 29th. I
sad.
also got for those of you who used to love the game, Clue the musical is playing at the Spokane Spokane Civic Theater about this time.
That's interesting.
And the other one that was really super cool, interesting. This will be interesting, and I would love to try to convince McKee to come with me and to go talk about it. This is a thing that has been going on for almost 5 years, I think. It's this idea of filming stage productions with big name actors. It happens through the National Theatre.
Great.
in
So I
London.
just get ripped apart.
No,
It's like,
the National Theatre Live.
my thing is I'm in support of theater.
I know. listen
Just
to me.
being original.
It's the concept of filming a stage production that actually is being done live in front of an audience.
I'm for it.
Okay, stage.
You think
screen,
I'm not?
All right, I'm not saying you're not for it. Will you
Just-
just come with me and shut up?
Sure, I'm just not for spouting off the
You guys-
same garbage.
Anyways,
You guys need to have
March
a-
29th.
You guys have a date, and we're going to film it.
Yeah.
March 29th, 2 p.m. at the Bing Crosby Theater. And last but not least is the Artist Palette Through the Lens of Dean Davis, which we starting March 29th at the Northwest Museum of Cultural Art. Dean Davis is a local photographer, really amazing guy, which I would say if you guys could take a time to go down to the MAC and take a look at their stuff. And don't forget to join the MAC and support some of the things that are happening through there.
April 1st is also Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs.
But we cannot
Comedy
forget.
cut.
You and I got to talk about that. I talked to Boyd about it.
All right, that's in the room.
Yeah.
And we
Tom
want to...
Deneen and Juan are going to talk about Silence of the Lambs.
I texted
naked.
you. I texted
Naked.
you. when they
So,
were
of
here.
course, we want to thank IronGoatBrewing.com. Check them out if you're in Spokane, and check them out online. And Kaufman and Associates, they make the podcast possible. They're at KaufmanInc.com. And Spokane Film Project is made possible because of the support of O'Doherty's Irish Pub and Grill in downtown Spokane. And thank you guys. Good night. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
Good night, I guess. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
That was quick. It's like you just suddenly just ended it.